Hey guys, David here and welcome to the Fit Pro Daily. This week is all about creating content that either one generates you leads or makes you sales. And we're starting this week off with a massive interview by inviting Jake on to share with us how he would help you turn your email subscribers into paying members. And he's actually going to come at us with 5 different steps in how to do this. But before we do dive into today's guest episode, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do click that big red button to subscribe. That way you'll never miss any future episodes. But for now, let's dive straight into today's episode. Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to today's very special episode. Again, we've got a guest interview today. We have Jake Rowan with us today. Jake's going to talk about all things email and hopefully turning your email subscribers into paying clients. And today's episode is also a little bit different because instead of me asking questions on different tips and tactics, me and Jake have agreed that he's literally going to give you a 5-step process to actually making all this happen. So I think it'd be a case of me asking him to get started, and then we literally just get our pens and papers out and start writing. But before we do that, Jake, welcome, mate. How are things?
Good, mate. Good. Thanks for having us on.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So I know quite a few people have already said, like, people are watching this live, they're interested and they're tuning in. So they might be popping questions down. So we'll ask those at the end. So if anybody that wants to ask questions, you can either reach out to Jake at the end, or obviously you come and join us in the portal where you can get these questions answered as we're going along. So how did you yourself get started in the fitness industry?
Quite naturally, really. Where I'm from, there's not a lot to do other than sports. So sort of like Northeast England, it's either football or you start going to the gym and stuff like that. Other than that, there's not a lot to do. So I was always really active from a kid and stuff.
So the big question, are you a Newcastle or Sunderland fan?
Oh, Sunderland. Don't even mention Newcastle.
Or Darlington, that's another good place.
Darlington, aye. So yeah, growing up, it was always very much sports-based. As I got older, I had an inkling I was always going to follow like fitness and sports and stuff like that. I ended up going to college and doing like a sports degree and stuff, but I knew I didn't really want to go to university. I had a passion for sports, but wasn't really like, I knew I didn't want a career in it as such. So anyway, I ended up a couple of months down the line, ended up becoming a lifeguard, became a qualified lifeguard. My brother was one at the time. He knew somebody who was putting a course on and stuff. I got a job working for like our local leisure centre, which is literally like 5 minutes down the road from where I live. And went there, I worked there for a couple of years, worked all the hours. I was 0 hour contract. I was just there 24/7. After about a year and a half, one of the sales managers came over and asked us, like, oh, Jake, you're quite good with the customers. Do you want to come and work in sales? So I ended up working as a gym membership salesman. So people would come in, they want to sign up, you get to know all the problems. So they're always saying, like, I'm overweight, I just want to get toned up, stuff like that. You get to hear everybody's problems. So when we were signing people up, after they joined, it was up to me to try to upsell them to personal trainers. So I would say, oh, look, if you need a little bit more help, why don't you go and speak to one of our personal trainers?
Yeah.
That is basically how I ended up getting into it, really. So I was always been very fitness related growing up, ended up working in the gym. And then from there, I was working with personal trainers. And then that sort of snowballed into like copywork and stuff.
So how did the copywork come about though? Because obviously most people listening to this are going to be in the fitness industry, whether they be personal trainers or nutritionists and all this, and they just want to help people. How do you kind of suddenly change that and become amazing at the words that you create and the words that sell? How does somebody move into becoming a copywriter?
So I was very much, so I originally started is I set up a website where personal trainers could come onto my website and offer their services, almost a little bit like Groupon.
Yeah.
But what happened was this was around like the end of last year. So it wasn't that long ago, maybe about a year ago. And that sort of snowballed. And I had things on there like restaurants and stuff like that as well. But because of lockdown, I just got rid of all the restaurants. The most success I was having was with personal trainers because everybody went online. And so what happened was personal trainers were coming to me and saying, oh, look, I'm on your website. Do you know anything about email marketing? do you know anything about how I can move online and stuff like that? So I was like, oh, I don't really. I was like more into content then. I would write like Facebook posts and Instagram posts. So I started looking about, and I did a few courses. Mike Samuels, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
I did his courses, and then I just started writing. I started doing emails. I started doing sales letters, campaigns. It was just practice. And I went to the personal trainer I was already working with, and I offered them my services to see if it would obviously get them a return. And it went quite well. So just sort of snowballed from there. More people heard about it, and then I just kept writing emails.
Yeah. So in your opinion, obviously it's going to be really biased, but how important is the actual words that we put in an email or on a sales page, or just in a generic Facebook post? Can they literally be the difference between no likes and no comments and a couple of signups just by just that one thing that you write?
Yeah, massively. I think so anyway. But the one thing that you'll see a lot is this. I'm not picking on anybody or anything like that, but if you notice with a lot of personal trainers, they try to talk to everybody, rather than just one person. So if you try to talk to everybody, you'll hit no one. So if you try to talk to one person, you really know who that person is. And for every status that you write, every email, whatever bit of content, you've got that one person in your head of how they think or how they speak. If you can talk directly to that person, you've got a much bigger chance of them becoming a client later in the future than if you try to hit everybody.
Yeah,
which is what a lot of personal trainers will try to do.
And this is definitely something you've said it. I've said it a million times. Everyone else keeps coming on and saying the same thing. But guys, everybody listening or watching this, whether it's now or in the future, we're not saying pick an avatar, pick a specific client just for the sake of trying to look cool or clever. If we're all saying it, there must be a specific reason we're saying it, because it works. Yeah. Like you say, you said, if you're writing this content that matches everybody's needs, it's not bringing anybody in or it's not pushing anybody away because it's not talking to anyone specific.
Yeah, it's quite vague. You have to get specific, otherwise you aren't going to hit the person who you want to attract.
Okay, so let's dive into it. Is there five steps, you say, or have you got more than five
steps? No, I've got 5 steps. I'll explain as we're going through.
Yeah,
because there's a couple of different ways you can look at it. But we'll just crack on if you want. I'll start with step 1.
No worries. Let's just dive straight in.
So step 1, you have to give people a reason to be on your email list. Nobody's going to just go, oh, I wonder if David's got an email list. I'll go and find it and just jump on it for no reason whatsoever. You have to give them a reason. So you're looking at lead magnets. Now, at the moment, I see a lot of ebooks. I see a lot of free diet plans. See a lot of home workouts. They all have the place. Don't get me wrong; they are useful. Maybe more so for somebody who's never done fitness before, who's never tried any diets, or has no idea about nutrition and stuff like that. But they are very generic and they're very mass-produced. Something that I've seen at the moment that's working really well is free challenges, 5 days to 28 days. The customer can really get to know you during a challenge because it's a lot more, obviously, hands-on. They can see how you work. You can give the customer a ton of value. So yeah, give them a reason to be on your list. Once you've got that reason, then from there, it's a little bit easier. You can start communicating with them. But they aren't just going to just randomly turn up one day and say, oh, I think I'll join that email list today. You obviously have to put something in front of them.
No, that's key. And like on that point there, creating a lead magnet or something for free for them to get in return. When we are running Facebook ads specifically for this type of thing, make sure you do connect your emails to some sort of email follow-up series. So, or even your email software that you're using so you can email them. A lot of people be giving these guides away for free, whether it's let me know in the comments and I'll send it to you for free. Collect their email addresses, because I'm guessing what I'm going to talk about now will dive more into why we need to be collecting these email addresses. Yeah,
definitely. So once you've got them on the list, obviously you can start communicating with them straight away. Now, step 2 for me, what I like to do is get them into an automation. All right, don't start emailing them straight away with your broadcasts. Get them into an automation, something that's been pre-written, that is full of value. that you can build a bond with the customer. Once you start building a bond, you start building a connection, then we're moving to step 3, 4, and 5. But step 2, you need to put them into an automation. Normally, I would suggest between either 3 days, so it's short, or 7 days, so you do a full week of constant emails. Personally, I prefer 3 days. After 3 days, you can start putting them into your broadcast list, which I'll explain later on, and you can start emailing them however many times you want. But if you've got a high quality automation, straight away, you're going to be able to build a bond and a connection with them and just settle them in, basically. Because if they download the lead magnet and they go straight into your main list, and then all of a sudden a week later, you're selling to them straight away, you think, what's going on here? I've only had one email from you and you're trying to sell us something already. Put them into an automation, give them some information about yourself, some stories, just to get them comfortable.
So talk to us more about that then, like stories to get them to feel comfortable. So you wouldn't sell in this initial 3 to 7 days, or is it just like success stories, more information about you, or what is it we actually putting in this automation then?
So first day of the automation, say for example, you're doing a 3-day automation. First day, I would just give them the freebie. First you say, look, thank you and congratulations for grabbing this freebie. Make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they've done the right thing. Because there's always, they're not specifically buying anything in this email, but there's always remorse. People always think, oh, should I have done that? Should I have bought that? Should I have grabbed that freebie? Make them feel comfortable that they've done the right thing. And then second day, I would go into something like a little bit more background into yourself. So that would be an embarrassing story, something that's happened to you while you've been a PT, just to break the ice a little bit. See if you can get them to interact with you, get them to send you a question, just get them to laugh. So yeah, more story based in the second day. Third day, if you were doing an automation, let them know how many times you're going to email them after this automation ends, but also let them know that what you're there for. You're going to be emailing them with value, with tons of information. You're there to help them. If you go into your third email and you're like, right, after this automation, I'm going to start selling to you every single day for the next 6 weeks, somebody's going to look at that and think, I'll unsubscribe. But if you get the third day of the automation, you just say, look, in the future, I will send you some things. Sometimes there will be things for sale, but majority of the time, my emails are going to be about X, Y, and Z, about weight loss, about diet, nutrition, programs, stuff like that. So it's all going to be very value based.
Okay. So are these going to be massive long emails, 20 paragraphs long, or is it just going to be a one swipe of the phone type of thing just to read it?
No, it can be completely up to you. You can never have long and short copy. You can only have boring copy. So if you've got a short email, as long as it's valuable, as long as it's got information in, it's fine. I read emails nearly every day. I get like hundreds in my email box. And the longer ones, as long as they're packed with information, they're packed with value, I'll read them to the end. It's the boring ones where you get like halfway through and you think, I'll just delete it.
Unsubscribe.
Do you know what I mean? Aye.
Nothing worse. Okay. So we give them a reason to come on the email list. We then give them some sort of follow-up automation where we're introducing ourselves, making sure they know why they subscribe, to thank them for subscribing. And then we kind of tell them what happens next moving forward. Yeah. So is that all about building some sort of relationship and confidence and trust? Or
yes, it is.
It's why we're going straight in for the kill and try to sell?
Because there's a nice little story I like to use for this. So say, for example, you're at a bar, right, and you walk up with a girl, and the first thing you ever say to her is, will you marry me? She's going to turn around and go, joking, ain't you? Get lost. Whereas if you go to a girl at the bar and you see her, do you fancy going for a coffee? And then for a few weeks, you go for coffee, you go for meals. And then after about a year, you see her, will you marry us? Yeah, the percentage of her saying yes is a lot higher than the first time you ever walk up and say, will you marry us? One, because there's no trust. Two, because you don't know anything about each other. All right, so you have to think about that when people come onto your email list. If somebody comes on and you start selling to them straight away, you're like that lad who goes up to a girl at the bar and says, will you marry me? You don't know anything about each other. So you have to build a trust. You have to give them something valuable. You have to give them some information that they can look at and think, oh, this lad knows what he's talking about. Our email is all about the long-term game. You can't expect to email somebody once a week, get no sales, and then think, oh, I'll just give up. It doesn't work like that.
It's the same with doing Facebook ads. They turn the Facebook ads, they do sales in that first day, so they decide it doesn't work. Okay.
Exactly.
Anything else we need to cover in step 2 about the automation, or should we move on to step 3?
No, step 3. We'll move into step 3. So once that automation is over, you want to move that person, that email address, you want to move them into your broadcast list. Now, so anybody who doesn't know, a broadcast list is basically your main list where you dedicate an email, whether it's once a week or 7 times a week, to email in that list every week. And what I would say is, once they're onto your main list and you start emailing them, the one email that's doing really well at the moment is story based. So if you can tell stories in your emails, whether it's about yourself, whether it's about other people, story based emails and adverts at the moment are smashing them. Normally in your broadcast, you want to be very value based, or you want to tell a story that can relate to your potential clients, but you've got to have a reason for emailing. You can't just be telling stories for the sake of it. Normally towards the end of your emails, you want to relate it back to the client and why you've spoke about what you have to do and how it can help them.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So we could literally be talking about anything random as long as it relates back to your target audience or the person you're trying to communicate and sell to. Who's got what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So just an example, the other day, I wrote an email for PJ I'm working with at the moment about Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and it was about how the subject line was Donald Trump is an online personal trainer, and then it goes into this story about how Donald Trump is very misleading. He doesn't tell the truth. He likes to shout and rave and attract attention, but he doesn't actually do anything. He doesn't provide any value. Whereas if you were to look at Joe Biden, people want Biden in charge because he wants to bring change. He's very valuable. He's a bit more honest. And then we related that back to how the PT I'm working with is a very honest person. He doesn't go about just shouting and screaming, and he provides a lot of value. So that was an email based off something that had happened a few days ago or a week ago. And you always need to relate the stories back to how it relates to the client.
Okay. So somebody who's not so great at coming up with stories and stuff, is it really that simple? You just think of something that might have happened to you in that day and relate it back, or just to spend a few hours trying to figure out and work out how you can relate it back?
No, it can be as hard as you want to make it. So if for anybody starting out who was just starting an email list, I would start off with stories about yourself. So that can be anything from when you were a kid, from any past jobs you've done, from any injuries you've had, anything funny that's happened to you, any clients, it can be anything. And then towards the end of the email, you want to share, something similar like this might have happened to you, or what's the lesson in that story. But if you were starting an email list, I would start with yourself. Look at yourself and think, how many stories have I got? And I guarantee a lot of people want to hear them. People don't realize how human nature, we are quite nosy. We want to know about people's stories and stuff like that. So if you are starting out, I would start with yourself. And then later on, as you get a bit more confident, you can start looking at like news channels, reading the media and stuff like that and bringing stories out of them.
So you were saying make sure these broadcasts have a purpose. So does that mean we should be emailing every single day? I know you said you can email once a week, or what is the best for someone maybe just getting started with emails? Should they just do once a week, or should they try a couple of days, or how should they get started with the? Yeah,
again, it's complete personal preference. For me, I like to email twice a week, just because I've emailed every day. Over the years, I've emailed just once a week, and I've tested it. And the people who follow my emails, I found like the sweet spot is twice a week. So for anybody thinking, right, should I be emailing once or 3 times, 5 times, 7 times? Just test it. Once you've tested it and you found, right, my opening rates or whatever high if I only email twice a week, and the lower if I email 7 days a week, well, then you know that your list likes being emailed twice a week. If you think to yourself, oh, I kind of write 2 emails a week, just try with 1, but stick with 1 for 6 to 8 weeks and see how it goes. Don't email once 1 week and then get the next week and email 3 times. You've got to be consistent.
Yeah. Okay. And then the purpose, we always try to sell in these emails in, because you said that in the automation, it's kind of building trust, giving things away, making sure they get to know you and like you and trust you. Is it now we start selling, or is there a different call to action in every email we give?
It can be a different call to action in every email. It's completely up to you. I know a lot of personal trainers who always have something for sale. I know a lot of personal trainers who only do like launches, so they may only have a program that runs every like 8 weeks. So if you're somebody who has like an academy where people can join every day, I would just pop it at the end of your email. Remember, if you want to sign up from the academy, here's the link. There you go. This is where you join up. Just go through the link. You can do it that way, and you can sell every day that way. Mm-hmm. If you've got a product launch and you don't actively encourage people to buy something from you every day, your broadcasts will be very much more value based. And then when a launch comes around, you would start building up to it. So probably around 2 weeks, 10 days before the launch comes around, you'll start hinting on, saying, look, I've got a launch coming up soon. Don't reveal what it is, but start talking about it, start using your testimonials. And then when the launch comes around, you really start pushing it.
Yeah. So if you are in that case of your program starts every 8 weeks, like you say, so week 1 to 6 where there is no option to buy, is the call to actions in it? Reply to this email, or let us know if you want this or something, or is it just story, relate, see you tomorrow?
Yeah, well, we'll move into step 4 because that relates quite a lot. So if you're not selling something every day, or you do product launches, stuff like that, step 4 is to get your list to interact with you. All right. Because if you've got I don't care if you've got 5,000 people on your list, 10,000 people, if your list isn't engaged and they're not asking you questions, they're not clicking on your links, they're not obviously getting to know you, they will not buy from you. All right. You might have 5,000, 10,000 people on your list, but if they're not engaged, they will not buy from you. So step 4 is to get your list to interact with you. Whether that is asking them questions, pushing them for a reply. I would normally avoid sending them to your social media. This is where a lot of people go wrong, is they'll have an email list and they'll say, why don't you jump over to my social media and check out my content there? What you want to do is ideally keep people on your email list, because you've got a lot more control about how much you sell. Whereas on social media, it's a little bit harder to do that. There's not as much trust. So if you're going to email, you have to get them to interact with you, whether it's through questions, mainly questions, or if you can put a story out and you say something like this similar happened to you, why don't you let us know? If you can get them to interact and get them engaged, you've got a lot higher chance of getting them to buy in the future.
Yeah. So something we got a few people in the portal to do the other year, or was it the other month now? We gave them a 1-sentence email to send out to all their people. And it literally was, I used to looking to lose weight. And the amount of people that replied to that was, whew.
Really?
Like you say, that question is a question, like you say,
Yeah.
people to open up. But then on the flip side, you've got the psychology level of it, because it's a negative answer. People don't want to reply at the same time because it's making themselves look bad. So when Jake's talking about these questions now, we always have to have a positive spin on it.
Definitely.
To make them feel good about themselves, to give them actually the reason to look good when they reply that they are this unique, cool person, not someone who's terrible, and which is always tough part.
Yeah, definitely. You obviously have to get people comfortable. If you can make them feel like they're making a good decision by working with you, then that removes a lot of the buyer's remorse, which is even when people buy, they're sitting thinking themselves, oh, have I made the right decision? You have to remove that. You have to try and remove it.
Yeah. And like you say, the more they get to know you and trust you and like you, the more likely they are to answer and reply to these questions.
Exactly.
So is there any other ways to get the users to interact? Is it just reply or ask questions or get them to click on certain links? Is there any other techniques you might do to get them to interact in any way?
Normally, majority of the time it will be questions. Other times it will be links to check out your products to your own website and stuff like that. Like I said before, I would avoid sending them to your social media channels, but I'm not against sending them to private groups. Private groups is another one, is because that's almost like a mini email list, but it's on social media. A lot of people use Facebook groups and stuff like that. Once you get them in a place where you can directly interact with them, maybe through the written word or through videos, stuff like that, we want to be able to have a big conversation with people, basically, because it is hard to build trust nowadays, especially online. But if you can get yourself in front of people, that's a lot easier.
Nice. Okay. Anything else on number 4? Or should we move into step 5?
Number 4, no, we'll move swiftly at number 5.
Yeah.
So number 5 is you have to get comfortable making offers to your list. So basically sales. It depends on the person how they want to do it. I've touched on it briefly. So it could be just PS, very soft sell, put in your PS section. Here's a link for my academy. Here's a link for my 8-week fat loss program, whatever it is. Or you can do product launches, which I know a lot of PTs do, where they like roll around every few weeks. And that's a little bit more aggressive. So if you're doing product launches, obviously you have to drum up interest. So that could be stuff through like stories, client testimonials, stuff like that. So that's a bit more aggressive. But if that's not your thing, and you just want to soft sell, it could be as little as putting your little PS at the bottom of your email saying, look, this is where you can find my products. Have a look at them if you want to. You have to get comfortable, obviously, being able to show people where your products are.
Does the language or the copy change when you're becoming more serious about selling compared to, like you say, weeks 1 to 4, where you're just generally getting to know them, offering them value and stuff before you move into the product launch itself?
Yeah, it does a little bit. It becomes a little bit more direct. When you get people into your automations, it's very much, this is who I am, this is what I do, here's a couple of stories about myself. Once into your broadcast list, and you want to obviously start pushing your products further down the line, you should always remember, though, when you talk into your list, have that one person in your mind who we spoke about earlier. You obviously need to know who your niche is and speak directly to that person. But yeah, the language does change a little bit, because as you start emailing them more, you obviously need to bring your personality across. So the more your personality comes into it, the more you can start using your own language, and then obviously you can put them into your emails.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then you're making them the offer. You usually sending them to a sales page or an application form or a buy button. What is the easiest way to usually get someone to pay or buy straight off an email?
from an email, normally just depending on what you're selling, I would just send them the sales page, but make sure your sales page is good. You see a lot of sales pages now is like, here's a little video of what the course is, a couple of bullet points, a little bit of text about what it is. Buy now for, say, for example, £200. If you, it's hard to explain with sales pages. That could be a whole of a podcast. But sales pages, you want to invest in a good one. You need good copy on your sales page. If you go you see a lot of PTs who go straight in. At the very top, it'll have the price, it'll have the video and some bullet points. Somebody will go through it with that and think, bloody hell, I've only been here 2 minutes and he's telling us to buy it now already. Again, a sales page is a whole of it, almost like a long form email. You take people through the process, and then at the bottom, you ask them if they want to buy, when you built a little bit of trust and respect and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you are going to send them to a sales page, I would invest in a good copywriter.
And I'm guessing as you're pushing these sales more, you start getting more urgent with the call to actions, and you're talking about how many spaces have been taken and how many spaces have gone and the type of people who are signing up, do you?
Yeah, definitely. You want to create urgency. Obviously, you don't want to lie. You don't want to say, oh, I've sold out, I've only got 2 spaces left. Just be honest. If you want to drum up urgency, the best way is to say, look, there's only 4 or 5 places left. The first come, first served. But yeah, you need to obviously make like that scarcity of, I've only got X amount of spaces left. The deadline is in 2 days, stuff like that. Your language will help a lot.
Yeah. Anything else for step 5 that we need to cover?
So that was step 5. So step 5 is getting comfortable with making offers. Yeah. So that's your sales process. Whether you want to do it like soft selling, put it in your PS section, just mention where they can find your products, or hard selling, where you go for it like every day and say, look, buy me stuff, go to this sales page, have a look at what I've got on offer.
Nice. Okay. So anything else for those 5 things that we need to talk about really quickly? Because I've got quite a few questions I've been writing down as you've been talking.
Yeah.
No, okay.
No, there's 5.
If you tend to write long posts on Facebook every day, is it worth just grabbing one of those posts and putting that in an email as well? Would that be worth doing that type of thing?
Definitely. You can always repurpose content. A lot of my emails have come from social media posts I've done before. But yeah, they're definitely worth repurposing. You don't have to do a lot with them to repurpose them. Generally, you'll find that if you write an email, very much it can be a social media post as well.
No, that's good, and that's the key thing. So like this episode itself, this is going on YouTube. I'm just taking the audio off, and that's going on the podcast channels, and then we're going to repurpose the kind of a little bit about what we're talking about and put that as a Facebook post. So this one thing is being separated into quite a few different things. So let's go back to when you're working in a leisure centre and you're doing these consultations. I'm guessing you were taking notes.
Yeah, all the time.
And this is like so key, guys, because everything Jake knows now about what the clients want and their needs and desires and stuff, he's written it all down. So he's not making this stuff up. He's not guessing what they need. He's literally done consultations with them, written the notes, and he knows exactly now what they need and how to best give it to them. So what's your opinion on taking notes and consultations and how to best use them?
I would always take them. Whether it's some people don't like writing. I know people who use just a phone recording, stuff like that. Even if you want to record the conversation, obviously ask people's permission and stuff. But I would always take notes. Just like I would have it split into desires. I would have it split into PM points, and then obviously that would get separated. When it came to writing content later on, you can always refer back to your notes and think, right, for example, a PT who coaches women from the ages of 40 to 50. Let's say I had Sandra come into the gym. She's already told me everything I need to know about what she's struggling with, what her dreams are, aspirations are for like losing weight. So whenever I make content, I can just look at my notes and say, right, this is what Sandra's struggling with. That's what she wants. I can now touch on every pain point that she's got.
Taking notes is like so key, and that's exactly it. When you have what you call it, writer's block, and you haven't got a
Yeah,
clue what to write about. It's been a stressful day. You just open that diary, open that page, and you just pick one thing. That's exactly what she said. Let's just talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
So you said you were some sort of master at upselling as well. What is upselling to begin? What is upselling?
So upselling is, so somebody buys a product from you. So say for example, like a diet book, £30. On the next page, after they've bought your diet book, you upsell another product that is linked to the original product for a little bit extra money.
Yeah. So in your gym, you were getting them onto membership first, and then you were upselling them to PT.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do we as Fit Pros, how are we able to do that with our clients? Do we have to create a separate new brand new offer? Or is there any other ways we can upsell them, charge them a bit more, and not have to go over the top to give them a load of extra stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of the PTs who I work with at the moment normally have a different tier of program. So that could be something like you get a bit more of a hands-on experience, so you get more calls, progress reports, stuff like that. So if you've got somebody to come in now, so for example, when I mentioned at the beginning, to get somebody in your email list, you could do a free challenge. So after your free challenge, which is like I said before, they're smashing it at the moment. If you did a free challenge and after 28 days, you then upsell somebody onto your higher course, your higher course is something that you would offer anywhere. So you don't have to do any extra work for it. So that's already in place. If you can give somebody a reason to work with you in the first place and then upsell them onto a product you've already got, then that means you don't have to go out and create a whole new product to upsell.
That's nice. So what is an open rate? What should we be looking for? Let's go with the broadcast, obviously, because the automation is going to be quite a bit different. If you have this bulk of emails and you're emailing once a week or twice a week, like you recommended, what should a good open rate be?
Should be for a good open rate, and a lot of that depends on your subject lines. And obviously, like the beginning of your email, a good open rate is probably around 20% to 25%. Anything lower than that's average. Probably bad is anything lower than 10%. So if you can get between 10 to 20%, that's probably around average. If you can get 20% plus, that's really good.
Okay. And if we're currently at 8% right now, how do we get to that dream 10% and further up? What is there anything specific we need to do, or is it again just quick things that will really boost the open rates?
I would refresh your list. So I would go through your email marketing software and I would run a quick wash, basically. I would get rid of anybody who isn't interacting with your emails, people who haven't opened your emails for a few weeks. That'll get your open rate shooting back up. I would start not mixing up your content, but I would start talking about different things, maybe review the content you've used before that's worked well. So it could be stuff like, personal stories, right, that had a really high open rate. And then the next day I spoke about something about work, right? Well, the work one clearly isn't working because the open rate went down. But if you start focusing on personal stories, which clearly have a high open rate, and start using them more and more and more, that'll boost your open rate as well. So focus on things that are working well.
So it was almost like that post on Facebook, I'm clearing out 200 of my friends. Make sure you comment so I don't get rid of you.
Yeah. Aye.
All about it. Okay, so open rates is covered. Next one that we always hear a lot about is having images or videos in your emails. Is this something we should do? Because I've heard some people say it's bad for your email open rates. Others say it really helps with the email content itself. Should we have images in these emails?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I use them in mine. You have to be careful what you use because sometimes you might end up in spam. Depending on what you use, it could be depending on what picture or what video you've used, you might end up in spam because it does get checked. Obviously, when it gets sent out, everything gets checked by whoever that email provider is that you send it to. But I do recommend that. I think I read somewhere people prefer or was something like 50% of people who were interviewed prefer having something to look at or something to watch. So I would definitely recommend using images and videos.
So tips on not to hit that spam folder. What do you know what type of images usually get us in spam folders and ones that won't get us in the spam folders?
Stuff like something that will get you in a spam folder is stuff like client transformation photos, weirdly.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of stuff like that. It's a little bit off topic, but Facebook doesn't like that. Client transformation photos, they'll take your ads down if you've got them. If they're on your landing pages, sales pages, they'll take them off there as well.
Okay, that's surprising. Email. So in email, there's no more success story or before and after pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. You can still use them, but depending on which server the person on the other end has, they might see it and think, bit dodgy, and send it into the spam folder.
So should you tell people when they come onto your email list to, what do they call it, whitelist your emails, or make sure you mark my emails as priority? Does that make a big difference overall in general, or is it just a case of they'll get through or they won't get through?
No, I would definitely recommend it. I know a lot of people who just make a quick little video, could be 30 seconds long. It's just them saying, look, just go up into your settings where my name is, my email address is, just go down and click priority or not junk or whatever. I'll definitely do it, because then you end up in the main inbox rather than spam. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Nice. Okay, then we talked about the different types of email software, or we've kind of mentioned it. What is usually a good email software to just send emails out with? Is there like a basic one just for beginners, and is there a super more advanced one for people who want to get deadly serious into it?
Yeah. So there's loads you can use, loads. I've tried out a few of them myself. I personally use Active Campaign. They don't have a free version. You can get a 2-week trial, but you will have to pay for it after that. But there are lots of free ones. There's people like MailChimp, Aweber. They have free versions what you can use, but you obviously certain restrictions. You will have to like go through the packages if you want to get more.
Nice. Okay. And just to finish this then, is there any final tips or hints or tricks or anything on these 5 things that we've kind of covered so far?
Yeah, just play the long game, be consistent. You're not going to get, after 4 weeks of emailing, you're not going to make hundreds of thousands of pounds in sales. Email is a long-term thing. I don't know if you've heard the story, but you know Jim Smith, calorie deficit guy. He's big into like email marketing and stuff, and he's released a couple of books. And he emailed for 10 months every single day before he made his first sale. 10 months to get one sale, and I think it was something like £20. But then I went and watched his show last year. He came to Newcastle. Now he sent out one email and he made £20,000 off one email. So it goes to show it's all about the compound effect. If you have to be consistent with it, and you have to think long term with email.
Definitely. Okay. And so people are reading this who are quite interested in this email stuff, or they might want to find out a bit more about what it is you do. How can people find out a little bit more about you?
You can grab us on Instagram. I like to put a lot of content on there. Also Facebook as well. You're more than welcome to come and use me personal profile. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook. It's just my name, Jake Rowan. You'll be able to find it straight away.
Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, that was Jake there with his tips, and they were really interesting stuff to really consider when it comes to your emails, stuff to get the emails open, stuff to get your emails into more of the inbox rather than the junk folders, getting them open so people actually read them, and then using the call to actions to make those sales or to get them booked in for your consultations. So if you want to go back, watch that again, go and take a notepad this time, write some notes and go from there. Tomorrow though, what I want to share with you is the insights into what makes a good Facebook ads copy. So make sure you do subscribe below to make sure you don't miss that episode out. And if you want to check any of the previous episodes we have running as well, don't forget to check out these videos just here. Until then, I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Cheers.